Hey, what's going on, guys? And welcome back to another edition of Hog Hoops Report with Kevin McPherson. And Kevin has got to talk about the NBA Draft Combine and the NBA G League Elite Combine with JD Note in the G League one and Jalen Williams in the NBA Draft Combine. And I heard some good things about Jalen Williams. The NBA Draft scouts love him, and he's going to be meeting with a couple of NBA teams, correct?
Yeah, I actually tweeted this out earlier today. The combine wrapped up. Technically, players leaving today. It was a week-long deal, and he's off to Atlanta. He's gonna work out and meet with the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks own picks number 16 and 44, and then he's got the Dallas Mavericks after that. There are other teams too, CJ. In fact, Jalen's already worked out for an NBA team. I'm going to keep that quiet for now. Which one that was? And he interviewed with a lot of teams during the combine week. So there was measurements, there was agility testing, there was 5-on-5 competition. If you look at Jalen's measurements, I think if you're an Arkansas fan, you're not too surprised by the fact that in shoes he was 6'10", without shoes 6'8" and 3/4, pushing 6'9". That's not a surprise. But he had a 7'1" wingspan. I was a little bit surprised by that. I think that's good. It's not elite plus wingspan, but it's good
Still pretty good.
because it's not equal to his height. It's better. He's plus 4.25 there, and I think that's actually pretty good because I wasn't expecting it, but it was still, when you start adding up some of the other stuff, his standing reach just over 9 feet, not bad, not great. The agility testing, I think, is where I expected him that he would not be among the best. He's not athletically as quick in those little shuttle drills and things like that. I wouldn't expect he would be. His quickness is between the ears, and it translates in 5-on-5 and on the basketball court. And that's what I really want to talk about, because I think that's where Jalen Williams helped himself. I don't think his measurables or agility hurt him, because nothing that was revealed in those things were really off the rails of what we would have expected. But I think even though Arkansas fans know what he brings to the table on the court when you're talking about playing, I think it was great for the league to see just all the little things he does to impact winning. He's a unique player for a big,
Yes.
and it starts with his passing ability. And he played in one game of 5-on-5. There were two that he could have played in. He made the decision to sit out on day two of 5-on-5 competition. I think mainly because he did so well on day one, combined with everything else, that he was getting the news and the feedback that he's really looking for about his draft status. And so if you don't need to prove anything else,
Right.
and you feel good about where you're at, the old saying, less is more, and why risk an injury or maybe a poor showing. So I think, from a strategic standpoint, I'm going to trust him and whoever he's talking to in his camp about that decision. But I think when I go back and look at what I saw in his 21 minutes in game one, he did a little bit of everything, and we saw that at Arkansas. I mean, he had 5 points, so he hit a three, had a really nice play on a pocket pass that he took about 13 feet from the basket. A lot of bigs would spin to dribble and risk putting the ball on the deck. He did, and he did a pivot step through straight to the basket for a dunk. Less is more. But some of his passes were what I would call them normally next level, but there are guys at the next level in the NBA who don't make the passes he does. So this is where I think his unique ability to play facing the basket at 6'10", get him in two-man game, pick and roll, pick and pop. And as he continues to get better as a shooter in those scenarios, he's a great passer. I will say an elite passer. I mean, you look at the Joker, back-to-back MVPs in the league. He's probably the only big man I've seen in the NBA, and I watch a lot of basketball, who I'd say he's more advanced than Jalen Williams as a passer. There's some other good bigs, passing bigs. J. Will has a little bit extra vision and timing and understanding of the game on his passes. And there was one play in that scrimmage, at the combine where he was on the shallow left wing. The ball was deflected, and a lot of players would be surprised by it, and it would just be a good thing if they could just corral it and get possession. He right-handed the loose ball, and in one motion, immediately, without a thought, without a tick, ripped a bounce pass between two defenders for an easy land for a teammate. So immediately when you see that, that's not a typical pass you even see from a lot of guards at the next level, let alone big men. Stuff like that. There was another play where the ball's moving. He had an open three. He passed it up immediately for a guy that had it was a better shot for three, knocked that down. But it's sometimes it's stuff that's catches your eye immediately is something that other guys don't do. And then it's just the simple plays sometimes where you don't always trust players to not take the shot and pass it up for an even better shot. But he understands the game that way. Loose balls. How many times we see him at Arkansas not only go to the floor as a big man for a loose ball, but he immediately has presence of mind to get off that ball, make a pass to somebody to salvage possession and not create a scrum on the floor. If you just looked at these things as individual things, you'd say, what's the big deal? But when you add it up, he wins possessions. He wins 50-50 balls. He takes charges. He stepped in. He made a read on a switch on a ball screen and played between the roller, his man, and the driver. And he read the drive. It wasn't a pull-up shot. The guard decided to drive. He read it, moved over perfectly, took a charge. How many times we sit at Arkansas, he led the nation in drawing charges. So when you start adding up all the little things, they're big. He was plus 15 when he was on the floor. 5 points. I mentioned that. He had 6 rebounds, 3 assists, a block, a steal, and that drawn charge. But when you extrapolate his 21 minutes into that per 36-minute production that the NBA looks at, he was almost 11 rebounds per 36, over 5 assists. And so those are the kind of things. You're not looking for Jalen Williams to come into the NBA and immediately be a guy that's getting buckets. That's not what he was at Arkansas. He gave Arkansas offensive production right around 11 points a game, but he's not a volume scorer like that. He does just so many things that impact winning. His defense is probably a lot better than folks can calculate. Sometimes he's not above the rim player, but he closes out defensive possessions with rebounds, one of the best rebounders in this draft. He takes charges and he can alter shots because he understands how to get position and change trajectory. I saw one play where he created a turnover because he set up for the charge. The guy that was driving in got confused by that, didn't want to pick up the charge, cut his drive short, and the ball squirted out, and it was a turnover. So just little things. I keep saying it that Jalen Williams does are big, and I think that's why this guy's going to stay in the draft. I think at this point, when I start looking at all his opportunities now, I think he's going to stay in this draft. He's got till June 1 to withdraw. He hasn't technically hired an agent yet. So we'll see when that announcement comes, because I expect it will at some point. But I think he helped himself in this combine. You mentioned JD Note, CJ, who I thought struggled. He had a 2-day elite camp with the NBA G League early in the week. The top 5 or 6 players, I think this year they actually took 7 and moved them up. 6 or 7 players moved them up to the combine that Jalen participated in. JD did not make the cut for that. I thought his second game, he played in 2 games. His second game performance was a little better than the first game. 1 of 13 shooting, 0 of 4 from 3, 5 turnovers. He did have 4 assists, but he really just struggled, what I saw, with decision-making as a primary handler. He doesn't really play with pace. And then when he gets to spots, he can get by guys, but when that help comes, see, the higher you start going up in these opportunities, everybody can play. Yeah. And so a lot of these guys, the IQ level takes another step up as well. So he's dealing with that out there and making reads in those situations. And I think he's still adjusting to what the pro game is going to be. And so some of the decision making he's going to have to handle out there in real time. So I think he struggled a little bit. The second game, he was better, only 1 turnover, did have 4 assists, didn't take as many shots. I thought that was smart because I thought he forced a lot in the first game. Second game, not as much forcing it. But I think JD Note is going to have opportunities. He may have to do a path like a Patrick Beverly or some of these other players that have to go through, not only the G League, but maybe some overseas, because we know that the guy plays like a warrior. He has a lot of belief in his game, and it's just going to be tweaking things to fit that pro game and understanding that when you play a position like he does, you've got to learn how to be a trusted ball handler, a facilitator. You're not always going to be taking 15 to 20 shots. Probably less is more for him in that part. But he'll be a guy that will add scoring whatever level he's at. And defensively, I thought he matured at Arkansas. And I think that's something where if he really buys in on that side of the ball and gives himself a chance, that may be where his bread and butter. Patrick Beverly learned that better than anybody. Defense became his mantra as he became a pro.
Right. I definitely agree. And look, fans, this is one thing that we need to tell you guys. The NBA is tough to get to. So going overseas isn't a bad thing for JD Note, even if he goes over there or if he goes to NBA first off. The overseas is tough as well. But if he goes to overseas, it'll be a good path for him as well because JD can ball. Trust me. Defense and offense, people. And we wish the best of luck to Jalen Williams, even though he's on the fence right now of coming back. He said he's going to go to the draft. We're going to see. And wish the best luck of those guys in the next couple of days. All right, move-in day for the Hogs. You got 11 new guys coming in for the Arkansas Razorbacks, and move-in day is coming up very, very soon. Kevin, what do you think about this team coming in, moving in, and the McDonald's All-Americans going to be out their mom's and dad's house, and they're going to be in their own dorm rooms right here in Fayetteville?
It's Memorial Day weekend. That's typically when the basketball team moves up. You've got summer school that starts the first session just a few days after Memorial Day, just that following week. And so we know part of the process transitioning from high school into the college life is going ahead and getting enrolled, getting a jump start on being a college student and learning that before the full force of college life comes back in August, right? So the players are able to enroll in summer school, go to both sessions. They get limited practice time. They get strength and conditioning work. They get to start bonding and learning what it's like to be a college student on top of, what the next level of basketball looks like. And you're right. It's typically Memorial Day weekend when they start moving in. I'll give you an example. Nick Smith Jr., a week from today, May 29th on Sunday, is his move-in day. So he'll move into his dorm and or apartment, whatever they call them now. But he'll be on campus, as will the rest of the incoming Razorbacks. You've got 11 newcomers, CJ. There might be some of the older guys that finished up their schoolwork where they're transferring from and may already be in Fayetteville. There'll be some that maybe come in a little bit later, but it all really starts next weekend, like you mentioned. And, this is unprecedented even for Eric Musselman, who does, typically 6 or 7 players a year are new to the program. So just roughly half or a little more of the roster. 11 newcomers as it stands. So you've got Devo Davis and Kamani Johnson for your returning players. They're already on campus, right? They're not moving in, but you got 11 new guys. So it's going to be interesting to see all of it play out, because I know Razorback fans, when you look at this recruiting class, number 2, when you look at the high school class, some say it's the best transfer portal class out there in the country. Combine it together, Arkansas's got a case. We've got the top recruiting class in the country, but that's just what it looks like on paper. Now you got to get them together. You got to get them bonded. You got to start building that chemistry. You got to start learning everything you can about these guys. If you're Eric Musselman and the staff, because you got to get it all together and start blending it. Because once you've been to back-to-back Elite Eight, CJ, and you've finished in the top 10 rankings in back-to-back years, and you're competing for SEC titles, the fan base expects more. And so when you're kind of back to the drawing board, a lot of work to be done. And I know Eric Musselman, his staff won't shy away from that. This is one of the hardest working staffs you're going to find. And I think they're up to the task. I love the talent they're bringing in. But I was talking about Nick Smith Jr. moving in a week. Right now, he's in Los Angeles. He's working out with some pros. He signed his NIL agency as Clutch. Yeah. Rich Paul, that's the top of the heap right now. When you look at player reps, but he's already worked out earlier this week with Taylor Horton Tucker. Horton Tucker, who's one of the Los Angeles Lakers guards. Nice. But he's been working out with some other Clutch athletes. Kai Jones, a former Texas big man, was a rookie this year with Charlotte, represented by Clutch. He's been in the gym with him. Derek Lively, Chris Livingston, 2 of the top 5-star players in the same 2022 class that have signed with Clutch. And so right now, Nick Smith Jr. is out on the left coast, getting in some workouts against some of the top players, and not only in the NBA, but coming out of his own high school class as he gets prepared. Like I said, in just 7 days from now, he'll be on campus in Fayetteville for the real thing.
It'll be the real thing here on the Hill. And Nick Smith Jr., oh my goodness, Clutch Sports is one of the best. He definitely signed with one of the best in doing that. But one guy that was on the Hill for some time, Moses Moody, who knows his way around that campus at Fayetteville, Arkansas. Moses Moody, what a time he's been having, and what a game he had the other day for the Warriors. He is still in the playoffs. They're in the Western Conference Finals, and they're up 2-0 on the Mavs. They came back in a big comeback. They were down 19, and Moses Moody was a part of that. And Steve Kerr talked about it, Kevin.
Yeah, I mean, Moses Moody, Arkansas's first one and done. He's the standard for that for the Razorbacks program. And you just never know what players are going to do, how they transition, how they translate. Sometimes it's about the right fit. He went in the lottery, a 14 number overall pick, and had a really strong rookie season, given how much backcourt talent. I mean, Hall of Famers that he's playing behind and learning from.
Backcourt talent.
But look, he's had his moments this past year. The team's dealing with COVID, with injuries. Yep. He had a 30-point game in the regular season, a 20-point game. Had some meaningful rotation minutes at various stages, had 11 starts. But now that the Golden State Warriors, he's the last Pro Hog, by the way, in these NBA playoffs in the Western Conference Finals. Game 2, for the Warriors at home, leading 1-0. They're down. This team is down to the Dallas Mavericks by 19 points.
Yeah.
Golden State chipped away, got back in that game in the fourth quarter in a close game. Moses Moody's on the floor for 10 minutes. He was in the top 8 rotation the other night for the Warriors. He's out there for 10 of the 12 fourth quarter minutes. Was 1 of 1 from the field, so he had a nice drive from the top of the key all the way to for a finish on the left side.
Right.
He had a nice drive into the paint and assist to a teammate in that run. He was +8 in the box score, plus minus. But Steve Kerr talked about it. Moses Moody is a mature young rookie. He's young amongst rookies, one of the youngest in the league, but he's very mature. And he, because of his size, his broad shoulders, his 7+ wingspan at 6'6", and he plays with a calm, composed manner. So you've got a lot of physical traits that can help a team defensively in certain matchups. And then you got a young man where the stage is not too big. I talked to someone just recently in the Golden State Warriors. It wasn't Steve Kerr in the organization just a few days ago. Said they love the fact that he's an old soul, very mature and confident, and the moments aren't too big. And that's why we saw Moses Moody get some significant run in the fourth quarter of a game that the team now turned that into a win. Like I said, he was +8 in the box score going into Dallas tonight as the series shifts to Texas with the Warriors up 2-0, 2-0, 2-0 in the Western Conference Finals. Look, this is a team that won 3 out of 5.
Right.
And with injuries and some other things the last couple of years, really not in the mix there. Then they've got a chance now. Pick one up in Dallas, end that series soon, and wait for whoever emerges from the Eastern Conference. Don't want to jinx it, Dallas. We saw what Dallas did to the number 1 seed Phoenix. That's a really good organization. But right now, things are looking good for Moses Moody and the Golden State Warriors.
Things are looking good, and I think the Warriors have a good chance of winning the championship. I'm not just saying it because Moses Moody is on there, but that Warriors team is a tough team. But I'm going to switch things back a little bit to Nick Smith Jr. Dick Vitale. Did you see him tweet about Nick Smith Jr. and the Arkansas Razorbacks on how special this team is going to be because of Nick Smith Jr.?
Yeah, I did. And, there's a lot of way too early predictions of Arkansas in the top 5. I think before folks thought that maybe Jalen Williams was going to come back or better, maybe it was better than 50-50 for Arkansas.
Right.
You saw Arkansas get a lot of number 1 predictions. Some of that's cooled off a little bit on some of these way too early picks, but some of them are still, they range from number 1 coming in to 5th to number 5 or so. That's probably about right. Yeah. Joe Lenardi in his most recent way too early bracketology projection had Arkansas as a 2 seed. So those are probably in line with what Arkansas is without a Jalen Williams. But like you said, you mentioned Nick Smith Jr. A lot of that's riding on his shoulders in terms of projections because he's the number 1 player in the country. 247 Sports in their update, we know that. By the way, everybody can probably hear my assistant over here, the cat, my son's cat, down here in the Razorback room.
He wants to get on TV. He wants some time.
But he agrees. Apparently, he's in agreement. Nick Smith Jr. Is the cat's meow for the Arkansas Razorbacks in 22-23.
A national contender. We look forward to seeing those Razorbacks and looking forward to see Moses Moody do great things with the Warriors. Hopefully they close that series out and get to the finals. Jalen Williams, JD Note. We hope the best of those guys. Kevin, it's been real again, man. Another week of Hog Hoops Report. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you, CJ. Always good to be with you in the Pig Trail Nation.
We'll have much more after the break.